I'm grateful because you have been such an inspiration as a talent to me. And I really mean that in the last year, getting to know you.
Thank you.
And seeing how you're so kind and supportive in the way you approach social media and sharing. And I feel like that it's just a perfect combination to have you here, part of this new exploration of us in our little market of Arizona, talking about the entertainment industry.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that very much. I found a gem here with you guys, and the tag group and the Leighton Agency. It's been great. It's been great working with you. I value everything you do, everything that you bring to our classes, to us as artists is exceptional. And I've worked with a lot of different coaches from LA to New Mexico, and you have a knack for it. You have a knack, I think, because you've crawled in the mud, just like a lot of us have.
Well, it's funny you bring it up because when I was talking to Mom, I'm like, I'm not going to mention that I have my ensemble. And then
first thing
you say is the artist and Tad ensemble. I created the ensemble when after the pandemic I settled back into Arizona, because it was like 3-4 people hit me up and they're like, I don't know where to go, where to train. And I referred them out to everyone else. They're like, but it's different, kind of the New York, LA market and what we do and how we approach things. And then now 3 people's turned into 20 people. And we have our Monday night group called the Artist Den, which is, it's cool, man.
It's so cool.
And I'm glad you decided to jump in.
Yeah.
And
well, as an actor, we got to be working. We got to be constantly working on a craft. And that's how I met you, was through the Artist Den, not necessarily through the Leighton Agency.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the Leighton Agency kind of introducing you and I.
Well, yeah, and it's like I'm sort of part of the agency. Is this I call it the Italian consigliere,
right?
It's true. Like if Mom had,
people are gonna understand that.
Yeah. Mom had a big contract come through for one of her talent, and it was, a large network television show that we placed a young actress on, and she's like, I've been in the Arizona market my whole life. You've been living and working in LA and New York. This is a different negotiation. And so little things like that, I come in, of course, trying to help. I created her testimonial series. I said, Mom, people have to get to know you. And she's like, no, they know who I am. I'm like, no, the new generation doesn't. And they don't believe this old lineage, this legacy. They want to get to know you. And when I told her story, I filmed it. Which, have you watched her YouTube series?
I have.
Yeah.
I love it.
She was crying every other minute, and I would have to cut it out. Yeah. She's like, I just can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do this talking to camera thing. Yeah. And I left some of the crying in, and I said, because that is who you are. You're a very sensitive, emotional woman. Yeah, caring woman that really cares about her talent, and that's what she's kind of fostered in me, and being on this side and learning to help her. And I'd say more like marketing, artist development side, like saying, where are we going as an agency?
Right.
And, whether or not that lineage all becomes mine, it's kind of landing on my lap. I'm an only child.
Right.
But she's had so many people in the last 2 to 3 years call her up when she signs them and say, I love your YouTube series.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you get an insight of who she is.
Yeah, of
you
course.
Really do, and it's so genuine and authentic that when you meet her, you're like, this is who she is. And that's what just makes such a powerful agent. I've had many agents over the last 20 years, and I think her work ethic and just her consistent communication with all of her actors, even when she's got 700 plus, she's just so good with everybody.
Yeah.
Makes everybody feel like their family on a personal level. And that is hard to come by when it comes to an agent.
She genuinely cares.
Exactly.
Like you can't fake her energy or commitment level, and she is that person.
And I've never gotten a birthday card from an agent until I signed with Leighton Agency. Like she, out of the blue, gave me a birthday card with a handwritten note that was beautiful and a gift card. I was like, wow, this is she really does treat you like family.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And that makes a huge difference.
Well, that's
awesome.
that's what we believe as a family.
Yeah,
Like if
yeah.
we're gonna make a difference in the entertainment industry and really help people, then we have to treat everyone as family.
Yeah.
There is a business aspect to it, but that really does come second when you think of Leighton Agency, and I'm glad that's perceived, and that was part of the story I've been trying to tell, and I think that people, they knew it if they had that direct relationship, but now that they get a watcher and we're doing things like the podcast and I want to bring her on, they really can come to terms with like, oh, this is an agent that
Yeah,
cares.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she does.
She does.
She does.
I want to talk about you because I think what's so important, yes, we care, but also our focus is about serving the talent.
Yeah.
And that's something that Mom and I have had a conversation about because, I mean, when I started out, and like the experiences I'm sure in some markets you've had, agents kind of treat people like you're lucky to be here.
Absolutely.
And you do what I say when I say it, and if you don't, I'll replace you.
Yep.
And that's not all in it together. And I think especially coming out of the pandemic, we as a whole in the entertainment community set this new precedence. And now I hold everyone accountable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like there's a casting director and they're not living by that standard. I go, wait a minute, aren't you the one that posted about, oh yeah, an ad agency, a creative director? I say, we're all accountable now. Now we've always been that way, but it's like, and now everyone's like, okay, we got to really work on this kindness thing, right?
Sure.
If we're going to promote it, we need to fulfill that. And so, our job, we look at it as an agency, is to serve the talent. And, obviously there's limitations to the market. We're more, as you know, a commercial market. And I'd love to talk a little bit about, because you came to us from another market, what that transition was like for you.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I really didn't know what to expect. When I came out to Arizona, I had been in the New Mexico market for the last 10 years. To be honest, I was not too happy with how the market was turning out there because as a New Mexico actor, I was one of 5,000 SAG actors in New Mexico compared to one of 150,000 SAG actors in LA. So for me, I always thought I had the leg up, being a male SAG actor in a small market, thinking I was going to book just all this work. And, it wasn't the case. I signed with one of the best agents out in New Mexico. And when I signed with her, she legit told me, she said, Heath, you're not going to book a lot of work here. We get nothing but bit roles that we're casting out in New Mexico. All the major parts, supporting parts are still getting cast from LA. We are doing under fives. We're doing small bit and character work locally, but you don't have that look. You are more.
You're a leading man.
You're more of a leading man.
Yeah, you
and
definitely are.
And
Yeah.
she says it's going to be hard to book you here.
But I do think you could be the pizza delivery guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No, it's just to pause there for a moment, because I think it's important for artists to understand that we all do have a type.
Sure.
And, even though we feel like we can play everything, perception is reality.
Yes.
All right. And how someone perceives us, like they're not going to perceive you as the average guy that could be pushed around or the bit part. And it's unfortunate because you could be a fantastic character actor. I always laugh because some of the actors I've known that have had the best careers are the character actors because they can keep changing and adapting. And I feel like when we're young, when we're in our 20s, I mean, I got into this game, I left home at 17 and I was a janitor at Broadway Dance. And like, people would say, oh, you kind of have more of a leading man type. And I was like, well, that's great. That's going to really benefit me. And over the years, I realized, wait a minute, if I don't get the big break, it's harder for me to fit in.
Sure.
Now, those types change, but like, I think it's great for you to comment on it. And I think it's great for other actors and artists to hear that, we do have a type. And we need to be conscious about our market and where our type fits in that market.
It's all about perception, as you said.
Yeah.
And your agent will tell you, like, how do you, if an agent asks, where do you feel you fit? What category do you fit in? They're going to have a different perception than what you think. But to be honest, you have to listen to that because that's where they're going to market you, And so for New Mexico, it was a slow process. when I first moved back there from LA, which was a whole other beast of its own, I met all the casting directors. Casting directors called me in personal for privates and just general meetings. And I had many casting directors that were like, we think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for you here.
Yeah.
But 5 years goes by, I don't book a single role. Wow. It's funny. It wasn't until I moved out here to Arizona that I ended up booking a co-starring role on a show in New Mexico. It's pretty funny.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah.
What I want to say is I feel that Arizona has given me an opportunity to work more efficiently because of the commercial market.
Right.
So when I first moved out here from New Mexico, within the first year with the Leighton Agency, I booked 8 jobs from commercial to print work. And that was just consistent work to where you compare those 8 jobs to 0 jobs in the last 5 years in New Mexico.
Yeah.
That's that's a nice little confidence boost for an actor.
Well, it's hard for me to hear because I think you're such a catch of a talent.
Well, thanks.
You're so nice. You're kind. You follow up. You're professional.
Yeah.
I had no idea you had that booking ratio. I would think you were working all the time.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely.
Well, I'm glad you are
Mexico.
now.
Yes, I'm working a lot more consistently now.
Yeah.
And I'm a strong believer in work creates work. Energy is pushed by energy.
Yeah.
And I'll say my mental state of mind the past 10 years has been in and out of the industry just because of personal stuff.
Right.
But really moving to Arizona a little less than 2 years ago was that defining moment for me to get back on course, to get back on track for my personal growth as an actor. The previous 10 years, it was more so as a teacher. Because I don't even think you know this, but I had a performing arts studio for 3 years.
Oh, cool, man.
In my hometown in Farmington.
Okay.
I dedicated 3 years of my life to building a performing arts studio. We had a dance studio. We had a theater. I built a 50-seat auditorium.
Amazing.
Yeah, all by hand. Like I built it by hand.
Yeah.
And I spent 3 years just teaching. For me, I always knew acting or something in the entertainment industry I had to be a part of.
Yeah.
I've tried to step out of it because, as you know, this industry is tough, man. It'll chew you up and spit you out if you let it. But it's been 20 years where I've stepped out of it and been drawn back. Stepped out of it, been drawn back.
I want to add to that because I went through a really big ride for a period of my career. And when I came off of it, it was pretty devastating. I thought the ride would last.
Right.
And so I thought, okay, do I take some of this capital I've saved and do I invest it in building my own small production company?
Right.
Or do I open an Allstate?
Right.
Or do I, and I looked into everything. I got my real estate license and people were like, you? I mean, I was still working in voiceover, but I saw like long-term if I want to have a family, because I'm the only holdout. I'm like the one that left that's still an artist.
Yeah.
And, I've been fortunate that I found another path as a director of photography, but there was that year or two, even for me, even being this invested in the industry, coming from a family that's in the industry where I went, I think it could be the end.
Yeah.
And so I totally get it. And that's so cool you made a performing arts company, man.
Yeah, it was a nice transition, but to be honest, it was a selfish way for me to stay connected to the industry.
Right.
Where I was living, I have a daughter, and so my main focus was providing a life for her, being a good father.
Yeah.
Being kind of in that market in Farmington where we have 40,000 people, that's all we have. I wanted to provide them something to give to the kids. So it ended up turning from a 4-week workshop, an improv workshop, to being a 3-year running, performing arts studio where we had 150 people coming through every month. Amazing, man. It was amazing. Then COVID hit and really kind of threw a wrench in all that. Our numbers went drastically down.
Yeah.
We kind of went through a year phase where we maintained. We had about 40 to 50 students throughout we had 15 different classes in all type of genres.
Yeah.
But my wife and I at that time decided, you know what? We got to take this to a different market, or we just wanted to move. You know what I mean? For me, I saw that this wasn't going to be sustainable for me. And to be honest, what I actually saw that I didn't really like was another selfish thing, was I started getting involved with all the casting directors in New Mexico. And they knew that I had built this performing arts studio and was working directly with talent, especially young kids. We have a big indigenous culture up where I lived, and so we had a lot of Native Americans that I was working with too. And so I was starting getting calls from casting directors, not trying to hire me as an actor, but trying to find people for them for their shows.
Right.
So I loved it. I ended up helping a lot of people book shows on network shows. And for me, that was huge wins.
Of course, yeah.
The one thing that keeps me in this industry, I got to say, was the very first show I ever booked. My first speaking role I ever had was on Days of Our Lives. And this was in 2005. And I remember after I got off a set, after I did my scene, I went back to my dressing room and literally started crying because I was so happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The feeling I got from booking that job to performing with these talented people to go into a dressing room and just being so grateful, like it was literally tears of gratefulness and joy.
Yeah.
And as an actor, that's the only time I ever feel that. You know what I mean? And so these calls from the casting directors, I would take a little bit of an ego hit. I would help them out. I would help them out and find them what they're looking for. But at the same time, I was jealous because I was like, why aren't you asking for me to be part of the show?
I think it's so good for you to be transparent about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was good that you were honest with yourself. So is that why you stepped away from that?
So it is. It is. So whenever we decided to move to Phoenix, I said, I'm moving for me. I'm 41 now. Like, I've been in and out of the industry for the past 20 years almost, man.
Yeah.
Since 2005 is when I, got my after card and
Right.
all that stuff. And so for almost 20 years, I feel like I've never given it 100% and just really focused on myself. I've always self-sabotaged some way for me to not 100% do me.
Yeah.
And, and for somebody who has gone through the highs and lows, I've been so close to contract roles that I would still be working on those shows 10 years later.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
where my life was completely changed, even a month ago.
Right.
This close to a contract role as a series regular on a show where this show's been on for 40 years. It's a soap opera, but as an actor, that's 5 years of consistent work.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So my move to Arizona was, this is my all in. I'm going all in 100% from this day forth, because for the past, 10, 15 years, I've tried to do those other things. I've tried to do those things to provide for a family, provide for a wife. And it took my happiness away, man. You know what I mean? It really took my happiness away. So any involvement I have, the studio I put together, I had happiness still.
Right.
It wasn't that gut-wrenching tears coming out of my eyes type of happiness, but it kept me involved and it kept me connected. And I made a lot of great connections. I could still call Joedna Bolden right this moment, who's one of the biggest casting directors in New Mexico, and just BS with her. You know what I mean? So I've made great connections in that aspect, and I've seen a lot of really what the casting industry is and really what it comes down to, and it kind of takes us back to kind of where we fit in this world, is everybody's just going for a look that they see. You know what I mean? Whoever wrote that script, whatever director has that vision in, that's who gets the part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You and I have both been through so many castings where we might have been the best actor there, but didn't have the right look. And that's where a lot of young actors, they get eaten up by this industry because they don't have what we have, which is just that grit to just to understand that it might not have to do with us.
Yeah.
Just has to do with, hey, to be honest, it's happened to me, and I've heard some feedback of it, was you're just a couple inches too short. You know what I mean? And it took a long time for me to get comfortable knowing that.
Yeah.
Because for me, that was always like a shot, shot straight to the chin. It's like, fuck, man. It's like, I'm not good enough. But you look at it, and you just have to see you will be good enough for it at one point. And if you stick to it, you're gonna constantly get validation. You know what I mean? Like, I booked a job earlier this year that I had read for a casting director for the past 5 years. And she finally booked me. You know what I mean? But I think she booked me because I finally fit that part. Yeah. And I was consistent enough the last 5 years for her. And the cool thing was, it was a direct booking. Like, I auditioned, sent in the self-tape, and next week signed the contract for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to do a callback, didn't have to do producer, director callback, screen testing, anything like that, just a direct booking. And I think that was because I had the credibility of showing up. Every time that cast director called, I never turned down an audition. Always was very grateful. And I ended up booking a great job this year.
Fantastic, man.
And so then again, same thing. You're on set, and this is a massive production where in your own trailer and you're getting escorted everywhere by all the ADs, and I'm back in the dressing room crying again, being so grateful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
It's
Full
just
circle.
those moments that just kind of really keep you enthralled with the industry and help you understand, like, hey, your time's going to come if you just stay the course, in one form or another.
Yeah.
So Arizona for me has been just a great way for me to stay more active, because there's so much commercial stuff going on, so much more opportunity. But with the market now, how everything's going to self-tape, you have so much access to be in so many markets right now.
I know.
You just have to understand how to go about that. And that's what I feel a lot of actors don't know yet. To be honest, it's as easy as just putting one foot forward and just doing it, not talking ourselves out of something. If you want it, just go for it. Because right now, I could be auditioning for a role in New York just because we have the self-tape option.
Yeah.
So that is a super cool. Arizona is a great hub for me because it's close to LA, close to New Mexico, which are two of the largest markets in the country right now.
Yeah.
And it's just a perfect position to be in right now for me.
I love everything you said. I want to point out one or two things in particular, and that is that when you are the actor, you really have to serve your own career first.
You do.
And that's something that I think a lot of people can't come to terms with.
Yeah.
Obviously in a minor market, this is more like a part-time job than it is full-time.
Yeah.
So, as an agency, we understand that there are certain people that can't, miss their kid's birthday party.
Right.
Because, that comes for they're serving their family.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to work in top television and film and have an agent in New York and LA, I tell people that is the difference.
Yeah.
I've never had an agent in LA that was understanding about missing an opportunity.
Yeah.
That's not how they think. And you really have to make this the priority. And I think it's great for your own sake, for your own happiness, that you realize that and you framed your life accordingly. And for myself, kind of the opposite. Like, I feel like I did that so long where it was me and my world being the artist.
Yeah.
That now, watching, I know you sometimes send me self-tapes or other actors and giving little feedback and serving talent and, our ensemble, like, I made peace in a different way. And like, now I kind of think of myself as like, I can take all these experiences and give that back to talent and people that want to work in the business. And there are these different paths you can take.
Absolutely.
And I think being the actor personally, and why I have so much sympathy, is the hardest.
It is, because it is so hard on personal relationships,
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing I've struggled in the past 20 years is finding somebody who's wholeheartedly supportive of me in that constant drive to achieve this. And it's the hardest damn thing to achieve. It really, really is. For somebody to work full time as an actor, the percentages are so low.
Yes.
That it makes it really easy for people outside of that thought process to think, okay, you're an idiot. You're never gonna make it. You're never gonna be working full time.
Yeah.
Most people feel that way. You know what I mean? And so it's really hard for your partner, your significant other, your loved one to really be behind you 100%. Because obviously, to live life, you have to have an earning. You have to make money.
Right.
So, for me, I've really tried to find those people that are very supportive. I'm so grateful. My family, my parents, they've supported me so much. You know what I mean? There's been times where I booked jobs where I had to go work on a film for a month. And I lost my job, and they helped me just financially, whatever I needed to do, because they believe in me so much that they just thought the opportunity was what was meant to be, and you go do that, and we'll make sure you're good. You know what I mean? So I've been grateful and blessed to have that in my life. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't. A lot of people have to make that choice, like, is this or this? And in New Mexico, when I first moved back there, I was working in the oil field because I got this offer to make $150K a year. And for me, I was like, geez, that's a ton of money.
Yeah.
So I started doing that. I was doing pipeline inspecting. I still had an agent in New Mexico. And so I was always brought that, to that decision. I would get a call from my agent. Hey, you need to be in Albuquerque tomorrow for an audition.
Right.
Do I cancel work? and I was the lead of a crew, and so
Right.
if I canceled work, I canceled a handful of people's work.
Right.
So there's a few times I did that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was a time where I ended up canceling a whole week of work because it was for Breaking Bad, actually,
Mm-hmm.
audition for Breaking Bad. I was driving back to Farmington from Albuquerque, got a call from my agent saying, hey, you got to call back tomorrow. Had to turn right around, had to call work again, cancel again. Long story short, I don't get the part. I spend a whole week trying for the part. I don't get it and lose my $150K job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get it.
Those are some of the risks you take as an actor.
Yeah.
And obviously that affects your relationship.
It does.
You know.
It affects everything. You know?
So it's hard. It's just a very selfish job.
Yeah.
A very selfish line of, work. But for some of those people, it's the only thing that they want in life. I'm one of them. You know what I mean?
And that's a beautiful reality
yeah.
packaged in a very whole way, because you see the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And
I've seen a lot of bad. You know what I mean? I've seen a lot of bad, but that little bit of good makes it all worth it. You know?
And that's what it means to be an actor.
Yeah.
I want us to wrap up because you and I could go on and on.
We could.
And I'm so grateful for you. I'm grateful for you being here.
I'm grateful
and
to
for
be here.
sharing. And I know we're gonna have to do another episode.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate you, brother.
Dustin, thanks, man.
Thank you.
Always happy to be here.